There appeared along the southern eastern coast a group of shallow islands that rose from the receding waters of the Ice Age. Fragile bits of land anchored by tenacious grasses and pebbles, the islands moved constantly with the roil of the tides and the violent storms that buffeted the coast. Over time, the islands began to form themselves as the plants and shrubs took hold. They would continue moving to the west, changing their shape, always searching for a place of permanence. Dotted with swamps, marshes, and bogs, and tempered by the sea breezes and the hot, humid air, the islands were rich with flora and wildlife. Corn, pumpkins, and beans grew in profusion in the peculiar mixture of sand, silt, clay, and natural matter. Wild grapes hung from the boughs of great oaks, and walnuts and pecans rained down when the warm breezes blew through. Huge herds of white-tailed deer roamed the coastal lands, while black bear stalked with swamplands, and wild turkeys sounded their warnings from the lush underbrush. The waters, both fresh and salt, abounded with mullet, brim, rock shrimp, spots, oysters, and crab. Then, as always, following the trail of wildlife came the ancient people. At first, they fled the raids of the north, then sought the warmer climes and the gentler breezes. When they came upon this land of abundance, they gave praise and offered tribute to Mother Earth for her kindness and generosity. Sailing along the shores, they called their new home Chiokora. Hey guys, I'm back and I am here with a review of Daughters of the Dust by Julie Dash. So, the passage that I read in the beginning is actually the opening of the book, which I absolutely love the opening of this book because it is the thing that sets the tone of the novel, and it tells us as well that the land is also a character. So this takes place in the Gullah Geechee region, and the main character is called Amelia, and Amelia is on a mission to tell a story of the people that live in this region. Now, the people that she's going to stay with are her family. So family members that she has not met yet, because her mother and her grandmother are from this area, but they have left this place, which you got to read the book to find out all that. And now the daughter is going back as a sort of anthropologist, if you want. She comes with this very anthropological idea about going to find out more about her people and about the people, these Gullah Geechee people. But she will eventually turn around and it will become more than just an anthropological visit. This is a fantastic story that tells us about culture, storytelling, backgrounds. So we have storytelling and its importance in this culture and in a lot of cultures. Storytelling is essential to passing on cultural events and meaning, and also telling stories for amusement's purpose, but also getting in its showing its link, the link of the Gullah Geechee people to Africa. And that is one of the main things about this particular story. Now, Daughters of the Dust was also made into a film, except the film tells a story in a different way. It takes place in one day, the film, whereas Daughters of the Dust takes place over a much longer period of time. I thoroughly enjoyed this book because I found myself deeply understanding this story, but at the same time, as I went along reading it, it kept reminding me of other stories that I have read. This book touches on a lot of different aspects of what it is to be Black in America. The thing about this book is it's very rich in its description, it's very rich in its storytelling. And as you move along the story, it feels like you are being told the various different stories of the people living in on these islands. You either can feel like you're a part of the community or you can feel like you're Amelia that's trying to understand this community a bit better. So the storylines are very intricate, but they're still very easily understood and relatable. They give us a good indication of what these people have been going through. This Gullah Geechee region, these are people that are the direct descendants from African slaves. And the African slaves that wound up in this Gullah Geechee region wound up being more or less left there because the white people that brought them there could not figure out a way how to survive there comfortably. So they just left the slaves there because it's like, well, y'all can live there. Y'all can make this work. And so this community is tight knit and everybody has their own story. I highly recommend this one. It's really, really good. It was quite actually a fast read. I have lots of tabs for this one. We discussed this in the Read So Lit book club on Patreon, and we had a great discussion on the book. Now, let me show you some of the books that this book made me think of when I was reading. So the first book was this one right here, which is called Barracoon, The Story of the Last Black Cargo by Zora Neale Hurston. Because of Daughters of the Dust direct link with slavery. But not only that, in this book, we see how Zora Neale Hurston has to go and communicate with this last Black slave who doesn't really trust anyone, and what she has to do to kind of earn his trust so that he will then tell his story. And it's very similar to what Amelia goes through with the community that she meets on the island. They're like, what is this girl coming here with these cameras and stuff? And they don't want to trust her, So she goes through a similar type of experience, and immediately it made me think of Barracoon. Okay, the next book that this made me think of was this one right here, Wandering in Strange Lands by a Daughter of the Great Migration Reclaims Her Roots by Morgan Jerkins. And this is Morgan Jerkins going to see about her father's family, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was father's family, who lives in the Gullah Geechee region. And so here she was discovering all of these things that she doesn't know, doesn't really understand very well. And that reminded me here again of Amelia and what she went through trying to understand her people that she had never met before, that she was just starting to meet. There were a lot of things, kept reminding me of this one. The next book that this book made me think of was Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo by Ntozake Shange. Now, this is a book that discusses, it's the story of three Black girls living in Charleston, South Carolina. But what it reminded me of is in this one, we have a lot around the fact of using herbs and recipes and little ways of curing things. And we have the same in here. We have it, same little recipes and ointments and things and recipes for cooking. And that runs through this entire book, just like there are some things that run like that through this book as well. So that was a similar region. And last but not least, The Truth About Awiti by C.P. Patrick. Now, I don't know if I've actually really spoken about this book on here, but this is sort of I don't know how you call it, maybe speculative fiction with a bit of magical realism. So it's a young woman, who is taken from Africa and brought over on a ship as a slave, but yet she has powers. And these powers allow her to survive the brutal Middle Passage, but not only get revenge on some people while she's going through the Middle Passage. This book is really, really good. I read this many years ago. I want to say 2013. I might be up for a reread of this one. I really did enjoy it. It says, Awiti's destiny was forever changed the day the slave raiders arrived at her village. She made a life-altering decision with the hope of being reunited with her family, only to discover her effort was in vain. For centuries, her sadness raged within the winds and rain, resulting to tropical storms that devastated the South. But there is more to Awiti than creating hurricanes, as those who have encountered her love and wrath will attest. The truth is, there is so much more. Following her story from mid-15th century Africa to 21st century New Orleans in this historical fantasy that will leave you questioning the impact of transatlantic slave trade on the physical and spiritual realms. So that's what made me think of this book as well. I started thinking about Awiti because they talk about, the slaves that have come over, and there's a particular story that reminded me of this story. I won't tell you because I don't want to ruin this for you. But this one stood out for me. So that's one of the things. I haven't had this experience in a long, long time where I could actually be enticed into remembering 4 books after reading one book. And I find that experience absolutely fantastic. And I hope you guys get to experience that as well. When books connect, I feel like there's something really special about that when books connect together. So I highly recommend you pick up Daughters of the Dust. You can also see Daughters of the Dust, the movie, which is over a 24-hour period, whereas this is longer. But you can see it on YouTube for free. Just put in Daughters of the Dust. If you want, I'll link it below in case some people have difficulty finding it. And I also recommend all 4 of these books, Barracoon, Wandering in Strange Lands, Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo, and of course, The Truth About Awiti. So that's all I have for you today. Comment below and tell me if you've read any of these books or if you've read Daughters of the Dust. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Special Read So Lit, this one. It's a beautiful Read So Lit book. Bye.